Yesterday, it could have been even worse. And this is a pattern and this is a theme. And we don't talk about every single one of these stories in great detail, but when you start to see a pattern emerge, you have to isolate it. Which is, yesterday there were people that were protesting in favor of the Israeli hostages, so the hostages that were still being held by Hamas. And this illegal alien Egyptian lunatic, Islamist, Mohammedan, shows up with Molotov cocktails and attempts to try to kill all of the pro-Israel Jewish protesters that are out there, and with a makeshift flamethrower. Now, praise the Lord that this guy didn't just come with a gun. He tried to be really, just grotesque in how he was going forward. I don't think anyone died, thankfully, but that situation is still unfolding. Let's go to cut 230. This is the FBI has confirmed the attacker yelled, "Free Palestine." Play cut 230.
I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals. This attack happened at a regularly scheduled weekly peaceful event. Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
So I have many thoughts on this. The first of which, he yelled, "Free Palestine," the same thing that very evil individual yelled in Washington, D.C. when he killed that couple, of which were Christian, outside of the Jewish museum in downtown Washington, D.C. We also saw the attempted firebombing of Josh Shapiro's home. This is a pattern, and it's only continuing. What is driving this? Well, first of all, and this just needs to be said, the misunderstanding of what is actually happening between Israel and Hamas drives people to do insane stuff. For example, front page of the New York Times says, "Over 20 killed at Gaza aid site. Crowds in need of food come under fire." This has been completely debunked. This is a complete misunderstanding and total exaggeration. The Israel PR department, the government of Israel PR department is the worst I've ever seen in the history of civilization. It is, they're not even countering it. Instead, I had to go to Bill Ackman's X feed and Twitter feed where he himself was actually debunking it. So it's just not true. It's fake news. There's a lot of detail to this that was just been completely debunked. But of course, the New York Times runs with it. So then you have a country of Mohammedans brought to you by the Bush family and brought to you by Obama and Biden and weak Republicans, where we have decided to import well, I don't know how many. The number would be interesting. At least 1 million, but hundreds of thousands of Islamists into our country. Then they have killed children, and then it ends up being millions. So this guy in particular was an illegal alien. He should not have been here. So I want you to understand, when judges are getting in the way of mass deportations, they are protecting this guy from going back to Egypt. What was his name again? I don't quite know. So this guy is, and by the way, the media said this was a white male that did this attack. Wrong. He was an Egyptian Islamic national, an illegal alien who came with a makeshift flamethrower. Oh, was his name really Muhammad? What are the chances? That's really something. Oh, his name was Muhammad Salman. Huh, yeah, they are Mohammedans. See? What are the chances? Despite the nature of the charges brought against suspect Mohammed Sabri Soliman, there's still going to be a whole fight about extradition, about getting him out of our country. So when judges are getting in the way of us doing mass deportations, every day there are terrorists in this country that are just waiting to erupt. Another point on this that I think is important is that if you are a Jewish American, or a Christian for that matter, you should walk around armed. If you are a Jewish person in this country, you should never leave your house without a firearm. I hate to talk this way. I don't want to try to scare you. I don't want you walking around with certain paranoia. But I'll tell you a story. Last week I was in the Fox News green room, and they have the most wonderful makeup artists, and Fox has been great to us, and it's been a mutually wonderful relationship for almost 13 years. In fact, yeah, it's 13 years ago. It was my first Fox News hit while I was a senior in high school. And this woman who is a makeup artist, I'm not going to say her name, she said she was in New York visiting a family friend. And apparently there was some terrible situation that was unfolding in the subway, of which is normal. And this black woman didn't want the Asian woman to sit next to her. Basically, get away from me, Asian woman. So the Asian woman was without a seat. So this makeup artist, who was wearing a Jewish Star of David, offered the Asian woman to sit next to her. The young Asian lady, late 20s, walks up to the Jewish woman with the Star of David, sees it and says, "Oh, you're a Zionist pig. I would rather sit on the floor than sit next to you." Now, that's a one-off story. You couple that, though, with some of the other just brain rot that I'm seeing, the kind of just we're going to blame Jews for everything type of narrative that's building in the West. And I think to myself, there's something that is degrading in front of our eyes. Let me be very clear. You are not smart, wise, or sophisticated if you blame the Jews for everything. Instead, you're probably just, you don't have your life together and you're looking for someone to blame. It's pretty simple. It is a brain rot. It is a cancer. It is a tumor. Instead, maybe you should just get your life together and get married and have children and stop looking at X all day long. In fact, you know what? It is so similar to what leftists do, which again, we're seeing this as left-wing terrorism. And how you fight it is multiple ways. You don't fight it by censoring speech you don't like. You don't fight it like what David Friedman said, where he wants to put people in prison. You don't do that. You fight it in the public square. But just to speak as real talk as possible, if you're a Jewish person, you should have a firearm on you at all times. And then that comes to also the tough love. And this is where they're going to forget everything I've said up to this point. This is where they're going to call me an anti-Semite. You ready? Even though that Charlie honors the Shabbat, he's writing a book on the Shabbat, he's learning biblical Hebrew, this is where they're going to call me an anti-Semite. But it's true. To the Jews of America, how are you still voting Democrat, and why are you still giving money to the institutions and the charities and the political parties that hate you and want you dead? My tolerance with the American Jews that are giving money and playing footsie with the American left is nothing. In fact, my patience has completely run out. If you want to just be independent, go be like, some of these other new thinkers that are just kind of in the middle, and I don't like either party. But if you are an American Jew and you are continually giving your own philanthropic dollars to nonprofits that hate you, let me be even more blunt. If you as a Jewish American, if you as a Zionist, whatever you want to say, are not to the right of Pat Buchanan on immigration, then what exactly are we doing here? If you are not calling for a complete moratorium on immigration, you got to wonder, why is that? So you want the borders to stay wide open so more young Jews could be hunted down in the streets? And look, the terrorism gets all the headlines, but it's the soft bigotry that we are seeing on a daily basis. And I have to ask the Jews of America, do you have a death wish? I mean, I'm saying that as bluntly as possible. You should say no more Muslims coming into America. Why is it that the ADL, I'm going to go to the ADL website, well, they're going to blame the right for this. It's somehow Charlie Kirk's fault that this Egyptian Mohammedan is throwing Molotov cocktails. The ADL is helping protect you and your community from anti-Semitism and extremism on the streets, online and on campus. Thank you for fighting hate for good. You want to fight hate for good? Stop bringing them into your country. By the way, the Mohammedans, there's over 60 Muslim-majority countries they can go to. Go to Tunisia. Go to Libya. Go to Syria. They got a new leader. More than 24.1% of the world's population is Muslim, with an estimated total of approximately 1.9 billion. Muslims are the majority in 49 countries. And again, this is not about individual Muslims. My primary care doctor and great friend, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, is a Muslim. It is about macro-Islam. It is about what does it materialize when you bring in millions of them and they form their own communities, their own Sharia ways of life, and they have a tendency not to assimilate. And so why do they have to come to America? And again, I will say this. Why is it that American Jews are so silent on this? Why is it that I, as an American Christian, have to be the one that speaks out on Mohammedanism? I guess it's just my job. But there should be, and it won't be, there should be Jews marching in the streets with all the combined financial and political power that American Jews have, which is quite a lot because Jews are very successful because they honor the Torah. You honor the Torah, you're going to be successful. You value education. If all the Jews got together, they could close immigration immediately. Why haven't they? Exactly.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.